the Emirates, I think we as a nation are finished there because deterrence has failed. What the Iranians have demonstrated pretty conclusively is to fight wars, you don't really need navies and air forces if you're defending your country. With missiles and unmanned systems and ground troops, you can wage war for a very, very long time. We are at the end of a 6,000-mile logistical pipeline. We've got to replenish everything. We don't know how many missiles we've fired. We're not sure about how many enemy missiles we've intercepted. And when you're in that kind of position, when in doubt, you tend to make things up. I think we're making a lot up, saying that we're doing a lot better than we are. But it's impossible to know with any precision. But the point is, you can bomb lots of people in Iran over a long period of time, but you're not going to bring down that nation, and you're not going to bomb its current government out of existence. So when you look at the map, I tend to rely more heavily on Rebar. I find that most of their data is pretty good, and as I look at the charts right now, I'd say the Iranians are continuing to do quite well. And I don't think that we are pounding them into the dust or pulverizing them out of existence. And I think that's one of the reasons that we're going to send more troops and more firepower there. We've got 3 carrier battle groups that we can surge. And over the next 2 weeks, I think they're going to get them ready and bring them over so they can replace the 2 carrier battle groups that are there now. So this is going to go on. And as you pointed out, everybody stopped talking about 48 hours. Remember, we go back to Witkoff, and he said, well, President Trump and I thought they were going to capitulate. I mean, after all, look at all the firepower we amassed. Persia has been with us for 2,700 years. I don't see any evidence that they're about to go away. I think they'll endure. I think ultimately, by enduring, they will win. The question is, what sobers us up? I think it's going to be economics. Remember, Japan depends for 73% of its oil on the Persian Gulf. South Korea depends about 65% of its oil comes out of the Persian Gulf. China, 50%. But the Chinese have substantial strategic reserves, and they have a new pipeline into Siberia, so that no doubt helps a great deal. India's oil, 50% of it comes from the Persian Gulf. And right now, Indian industries, whether it's ceramics or automobile tires or any number of things, anything that contains petroleum, all of your fertilizers contain elements from petroleum. Those businesses are being destroyed in India. And people are beginning to say, no, wait a minute. Did President Trump ever consult with any of the nations with which we are aligned or nations that are ultimately friendly to us before he decided to do this? The answer is no. Did anybody really present him with a systematic analysis of how likely it was that we would be successful striking Iran from the air, or was that simply waved aside based on anecdotal evidence provided by the Israelis that said, oh, this will be over in 2 days or 3 days or 4 days? We don't know the whole story. I mean, the truth will come out. Eventually, we'll find it out. But I think most of our assumptions were false. They were evidence-free, as so much analysis in Washington is. So I think we're in for the long haul. And hopefully we don't have any ships that are damaged or sunk. Hopefully we don't have a carrier that's struck by one of these ballistic missiles. That would be disastrous. Because right now, all the bases are basically gone in most of the region. They're not usable anymore.
Gosh. I want to ask you just one more question about the idea of escorting ships through the Strait of Hormuz. No one has taken us up on that offer. President Trump said, hey, we'll be the insurer. The U.S. taxpayer will do that. I mean,
now that insurance rates have skyrocketed,
right,
as you pointed out.
So the government is saying, okay, we'll do it. That puts U.S. taxpayers on the hook. And I assume they would pay for, replacement costs, death tolls. I don't know exactly what that means. You and Colonel Davis both kind of freaked out about that because you're like, you really want to sail near Iran? You really want to do that? And no one has to. Why? Who would do that? Who would sail towards a country escorted by the country that's bombing that country? So it doesn't seem like, it just seems like bluster, right? Is that what you think?
Well, I don't know, because I think that President Trump frequently is a victim of what we call ready, shoot, aim. He says things, and then subsequently somebody tells him it's not possible, it won't work, or it's untrue. Then he just sort of waves it off. But this time, I don't think he can wave off some of these remarks. I can't imagine any admiral in the United States Navy urging us or President Trump to send Navy combatants into the Persian Gulf right now. They'd be sitting ducks. That's the easiest thing in the world to hit and sink. So I think the idea is crazy. Note that the carrier battle groups, particularly the USS Abraham Lincoln Group, has moved as far away as they possibly could without completely sacrificing their ability to contribute to the air campaign. Because remember, you've got most of these fighters are about a 300-mile range. That means they've got to fly out 150 miles and back 150 miles. And you're a long way from Iran if you're 400, 500, 600 miles south of the Persian Gulf. That means that you've got a lot of refueling going on. All of these things cost us logistically. So I just don't see it working. I don't see it happening. I think what you'll end up doing maybe is conducting a kind of naval blockade. But that's going to get you into trouble with everybody. Right now, what we see is a pattern of missile volleys and drones based on a specific group of targets that are provided largely as a result of Chinese intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. And the satellite-based intelligence is also providing the battle damage assessment. And so this is a very carefully orchestrated campaign on the part of the Iranians. These people are not amateurs. So we on the other hand, seem to be stumbling. It reminds me of Lloyd George, who said it at the beginning of World War I, if the politicians stumbled into the war, the generals have certainly stumbled through it. And I think that's what we did. We stumbled into this behind the Israelis that hooked us in. And we're trying to make the best of it. I'm sure the generals in the Air Force, the admirals in the Navy are doing everything they can. But this is tough. And in today's attack, the Iranians used one of their Khorram Shah ballistic missiles with submunitions. They've done horrific damage to Ben Gurion Airport, put it out of business. This was because, obviously, the Israelis attacked the airport in Tehran. These people aren't finished. They're a long, long, long way from being finished. I think they're going to be standing when Israel's in ruins. And that's the problem, because when do the Israelis finally step up and say enough is enough? We're going to use a nuclear weapon and put Iran out of business. That's really what I worry most about.
I've been hearing from sources pointing out that there are a number of IDF soldiers who've been overheard discussing this. Use a nuclear weapon. Just use a nuclear weapon and take out Iran. So I wouldn't be surprised by that. Doug, I'll get you out of here on this, which is this idea. We've been hearing from the Iranian side that they've hit our aircraft carriers. They've hit our aircraft carriers. They've hit some of our Navy ships. Is that propaganda from the Iranian side? What are you hearing from military sources? We can't seem to get any data as to whether or not any of our ships have been hit.
I do have some friends in the Navy, and I'm told that at least one of the DDGs was hit, and they did have a fire on board. But the rest of it, no. And, the other thing is nobody wants to confirm success because they're afraid that they're going to tell the Iranians that they've hit the right target. But the truth is that you can't really conceal the effects because they're going to be picked up on satellite intelligence anyway. But historically, just remember, we always slow roll casualties. We slow roll losses, or we simply lie. We lied during the Second World War because the losses were always higher than we expected. During World War I, they were horrific, and people waited months to hear the truth. So I just don't think that much of what we are hearing is truthful from our side. And I don't know that the Iranians are telling us everything either, because if you think you got close to a carrier, maybe you say, well, we got close, so tell them we nicked the carrier or something. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't think we can depend on much integrity in war. What did Napoleon say? The first casualty in war is the truth.
Right.
He was right.
Absolutely.
Colonel